The Shoreline Arts Alliance, dedicated to educating audiences, encouraging artists, engaging our youth, and enriching our community. The Shoreline Arts Alliance presents renowned arts events, including Future Choices Awards and Scholarships, a juried art exhibition for outstanding high school art students at the Lime Academy College of Fine Arts. Awards and scholarships are presented to the top artists selected by judges. Images. Images celebrates the art of photography and encourages excellence among photographic artists. It is the oldest annual statewide juried competition and exhibition open to all Connecticut photographers. Awards are presented. Shoreline's Top Talent, Scholarships in the Arts. A competition for Shoreline High School juniors and seniors of exceptional talent in creative writing, dance, instrumental music, vocal music, theater, and visual arts. Scholarships and mentorships are awarded to the winners. Shakespeare on the Shoreline, the most popular and well-recognized summer cultural event of the Shoreline community. Free admission on the historic Guilford Green to an evening of entertaining, engaging, and educational theater. In conjunction with Shakespeare on the Shoreline, we offer the Rising Star Theater Experience summer program for children 7 to 17, promoting creativity, critical thinking, cooperation, literary enrichment, and self-confidence. Tessie Walden Awards, New Voices in Children's Literature, a competition that encourages and nurtures the creation of exceptional quality books for children by unpublished Connecticut writers and illustrators. Awards are given to the winners. Shoreline Art Space Series and Special Events, a collaborative arts exhibition program showcasing the creativity, expression, and voices of Shoreline fine artists in a local gallery or public setting for free. In addition, we often produce special events from quartets to quintets to celebrated choir and a cappella groups. Member organizations. The Shoreline Arts Alliance provides an arts calendar at www.shorelinearts.org for up-to-the-minute happenings, weekly e-blasts called Arts Week at a Glance and Quotable and Notable, workshops, and a peer advisory network to our members. We have had great success for more than 3 decades and look forward to many more decades filled with outstanding cultural opportunities. To succeed, we need the support of foundations, corporations, local businesses, cultural agencies, and most importantly, individuals, families, and artists like you to make it happen. Your gifts support our mission to educate audiences, encourage artists, engage our youth, and enrich our community.
Hi, I'm Carly Callahan. Welcome to this episode of Spotlight on the Arts. We're so pleased to have you here and welcome you to our June program. I'm also thrilled today to welcome several guests, the first of whom is just part of a phenomenal company that I recently got to know a little bit, and I'm so pleased today to be able to share with you, our audience, 2 fantastic individuals in our artistic community of Connecticut. David Dorfman, the artistic director of David Dorfman Dance, and Chloe Carlson, who is the president of the board. Hello. Thank you so much for coming today. We're so happy to have you here. It's as I mentioned, I spent so much time on your website today and was completely captivated by what you're doing with dance in a way that I really haven't seen around these parts very much at all. So thank you for being a part of our community, and welcome.
Thank
so David,
you very much, Carly.
Tell me a little bit about you and the company and history and all that good stuff.
Well, the company is now 30 years old. I'm very proud of that fact.
Right.
We're survivors and we're thriving, and we have dual bases. We're based here in Connecticut and at Connecticut College in New London, where I live with my family for the last 14 years. I've been teaching at Connecticut College for 14 years now. And then we have a base in New York City where we started 30 years ago. So really enjoying that stretch down 95. Don't enjoy 95 so much.
I was going to say.
But I enjoy being close enough to pop into the city and then far enough away after 20 years solid living there to enjoy Connecticut, the shoreline, and I love being here. I love my life. I love running a dance company, teaching students at Connecticut College, getting involved in theater. I was lucky enough to do a Broadway show last year, and it's just, I don't know, at this age, in my early 60s, I feel like I get to do a lot of things that I've been preparing for my whole life, and it's really enjoyable.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And how did you get involved in this organization?
Well, David is the main reason I'm still dancing, other than my passion and my husband's support. And I have a personal commitment to David because he's been an incredible mentor, and a professional commitment because his organization embodies so many wonderful virtues like generosity and excellence and virtuosity, and so I'm honored to serve on the board.
That's wonderful.
Thanks, Clay.
Now we're going to be able to run some footage of your dance performances during this interview for our audience, but just give us a preview. So what type of dance are you all about?
Sure. We're modern or postmodern. We're very athletic. I call us risky and frisky.
That's great.
We use text a lot with our movement. We use partnering. We share weight. We share weight as a metaphor for being interdependent on one another, that we can do things together that we can't do individually. And we need to touch each other's skin in our lives. We need to do this non-sexualized, intimate behavior. I call sometimes what we do kinetic diplomacy, that we're actually building communities by employing safe touch and doing things beyond what you thought you could do with your body. We teach a lot of folks that haven't danced yet, and to see them discover something in real time is just so joyous.
That's amazing.
So that's a lot of what we do. I mean, we dance to original musical scores. We love doing that. We have singers in the company. We don't think accessible is a dirty word. We think it is an incredible word in this world. So no one needs to have a dance background or no dance history to enjoy one of our performances. We want to make it immediately available, and we want to make it, I have a motto called invite and indict. We really embrace the public. We embrace anyone around. We're big huggers, both literally and figuratively. But at the end of the show, we try to make a little bit of a challenge, a pleasant challenge. Can we live our lives in a more noble, powerful, activist fashion? And that's what I'm always thinking about, even if it's little bits of improvement. And that's what I want to share with the audience. And we have very generous performers that have worked with us for a decade.
I love the idea of kinetic diplomacy,
Kinetic diplomacy.
I love that. I think that's so interesting. And one of the things that in the guests that we've had over the past few episodes, we talk about the arts and how right now in present time there is a greater need than ever for that connection and that presence. And you mentioned kind of the skin-to-skin contact, both literally and figuratively, in this world where we're so disassociated and so disconnected. And it's great to hear that you're bringing dance to people in an accessible way, that it's not me looking at the stage at a ballerina on point and saying, that's not me, I can never do that. I guess what you're saying is that your dance company is more about this is you, and let's explore that. Is that correct?
Absolutely, Carly. Thanks for being so perceptive. We're not about examine us from afar, aren't we great? We're about you could be up here with us. In fact, you are up here with us. Maybe your body isn't there, but we're representing you. We're modeling behavior that we feel you would love to do. We dance about joy. We dance about connections. I'm not a big social media person. My social media is dancing, is really live contact with another human being, not necessarily being on a phone or a computer or with headphones on. It's like, what can we do? I always say that if you're dancing with someone, you're not hurting them. You're engaged in a non-violent activity that is caring, empathic, and most of the time joyous.
That's neat. Now, because of the style, is the dance something that's very specifically choreographed by you, or is it something that is more organic from the dancers themselves interacting?
Both.
Yeah?
Yeah. I love making up dance phrases, just love it. So I begin every project with some of my own phrases because I try to do something a little bit differently than last time. I love the idea of being off-center, of falling. I don't believe our world is symmetrical. I believe it's more and I feel asymmetrical much of the time in a good way. And I want to embrace almost an awkward sense of beauty that's just kind of around the corner that we don't even know yet. So I love making up dance phrases and teaching it to the company. Almost immediately I ask them to make up their own variations. So we're a unit, we're a group, but we're also individuals that react to assignments, to prompts, to movement very differently. And I love showing that. And we have different sizes, ages, skin color. You know, we're trying to represent the world on stage.
Right.
And then when it comes time to put all the movement together, we do it jointly. I remain the director and I conceive the projects, but the choreography and the text comes from the company. So it's a very collaborative model.
That's really neat.
With me being the director.
That's really neat. Now, are you a dancer in the company? Do
Not
you
in the company,
Okay,
no.
but you participate.
I take the classes at the intensives and
Okay.
classes at Connecticut College, and I have a small company that I direct. But I wanted to piggyback something that
Please.
David said about the style, going back to the previous question. And one of the things that I find so exciting and powerful about David's work is that it is accessible, that David is having a dialogue. And I think that modern dance and postmodern dance sometimes has a bad rap. Some of it well-deserved because it isn't accessible, and it's kind of like, guess what I'm trying to say, just guess what I'm trying to say, guess what I'm trying to say. I had a law school professor who did that. Guess what the answer is in my back pocket. I have no idea.
Right.
And David is attempting to and is succeeding in communicating with the audience. It is a dialogue. And the other thing that I find so exciting is that David's work is so human, and he pushes the limits of what we can do. So here we are in our early 60s, and we're doing wild and crazy stuff.
Thank you, Chloe. I want to just credit Chloe for a second. Thank you for those kind words. Chloe takes class religiously with us at Connecticut College, and she has for years. From my wife a lot, sometimes from me, and intensives from me and the rest of the company. And she has a fan club among the students at the college, because she just will do anything and everything, and she does it beautifully.
Yeah.
She's done this. I think you have a new one that I haven't seen, but last year she took a bunch of movement that my wife Lisa Race, who dances in our company too as a guest artist and was with us for like 11 years, movement that Lisa had made, and then Chloe put her own spin on it. Selected music, costume, maybe even some text, and it was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So the idea that that dance has a certain age limit, it's like baloney.
Yeah.
Excuse the language,
Thank
please.
you,
Yeah, no, okay.
I mean, that's great.
My mentor, and this kind of I think relates to me being in Connecticut. Next summer, I was just realizing this. Next summer will be 40 years anniversary for me setting foot in this region. So I came to get my MFA in dance to Connecticut College in 1979. I still remember those summer smells every summer when it comes around
Right.
Crozier Williams
Right.
College Center, and I adore it, and it brings me back. And that first summer, my mentor, the late Daniel Nagrin, was just an incredible force. And what he would say is, David, you need to prepare 100%, 110%, 1,000,000%. And then when you give your dance to the audience, they can go in any direction with it, but you've done your homework. You've done everything you can. So it might be, in regard to Chloe's comment, that 5 audience members have 5 distinct stories or narratives or reaction to what we do. But we've made it available,
Right.
and that's what our goal is always. We're not trying to do the hands behind my back, guess how many fingers I have. It's more, please go on your own journey,
Right.
on your own imaginative trip with this,
Right.
and we're going to give you guideposts. My other mentor, Martha Myers, who's still alive and living in New York, who guided me through graduate school and beyond, and to this day still guiding me, she would say, David, you need to give cues to the audience so that then they know what to do with the material. They can go. I always say, if there's 150 people, if there's 1,300 people in the audience, there's 1,300 dances perceived. But we need to do our homework in advance.
Right.
And thanks, Chloe. So Chloe's an inspiration.
That's wonderful.
And
Well, it
we've-
sounds like you're empowering the audience to be collaborative in your process and in your performance. And as a performer myself, no two shows, of course, are alike because the audience is the other leading role.
Oh my
and,
gosh.
and I think the most important role. And the way that we interact with them is what makes magic, I think. And what I love hearing your passion because this is what we need to preserve. And this is what we need to foster, because this is not something that technology can duplicate or replicate, right? This is a unique experience.
Yeah, live theater, live dance, live performance is unbelievable. And I really agree that, the very common but deep term, scene partner in theater, right? You've led me to realize that in dance and the kind of dance that we like to do and present, the audience is our scene partner.
Right.
Yeah, there's scene partners within it, but the audience is our scene partner. Right. I often think of what we do as experiential. Sometimes, many times, we've actually had the audience on stage for various parts of a show, at the beginning, at the end, maybe a little bit in the middle. But even in shows that the audience doesn't actually enter on the stage, I feel that they're a part of it. And so we go through, there's nothing more magical when at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 7:30, those lights go out and you get transported to this imaginative world that's real and you can taste it. And then the lights come up and how have we changed? I gave an assignment this summer, this past summer, a summer ago, make your bumper sticker, your personal bumper sticker. And I thought, what would mine be? And mine would be everything I've learned from art. And I really, really believe that. And an alliance such as yourself, Shoreline Arts Line, it's got art right in the middle of it. Our corporate name is Art Sweats. Because it does, and I love it.
It does, and we're all working towards the goal of being able to further the community and develop our community and learn about one another, because it's so inspiring. It's so deeply inspiring. So you are on your way in a week, I believe, or so, to El Salvador?
Just under 2 weeks. Yeah, we're going to El Salvador, yes.
Which is amazing. So let's talk about that.
Sure. I've done an advance visit about a month ago now, I guess. We were there for 2 intense days with our new managing director, Aaron, and it was fantastic. And we met, we're basically doing a violence prevention program through USAID and an NGO called Glasswing. And they've collaborated to support us and help us continue the work that they've been doing in a beautiful, beautiful way for years now. And USAID concentrates more on developing centers for violence prevention. And they make dance available. They get leaders, like student leaders at high school age. We had one that was like 6 years old also. She must have been a younger sister of someone. And they come and they do these dances as many after school days as they can. And it keeps them away from gang activity. And unfortunately in El Salvador, the school day is only 4 hours long, so there's a lot of free time. And so it's this big focus. And then Glasswing works more in schools. So it comes assembly times or recess times or right after school. They have a population there, and then they work dance into the curriculum. And so we're going to work with 50 young people, roughly high school age, and we're going to do a big show at the end of a week. We'll be there about 10 days, but at the end of this week's worth of workshops in this plaza that until a couple of years ago been almost uninhabitable. I mean, it was a little too dangerous. And now it's coming back to life, and we're going to do this 2-hour performance with drum corps groups, youth orchestra, rappers from El Salvador, and these 50 dance students and some of our company members. So that's one activity that we'll be working toward the whole week. And then we're going to do our show, our most recent show that we did both at Connecticut College and at Brooklyn Academy of Music, Next Wave Festival last November, and we're beginning to tour it. It's called Around Town. And it's kind of this mythical town that strives for joy, that has that kinetic intimacy that I was referring to earlier. So we're doing that in an indoor theater at the middle of the week. And then we go to this outdoor plaza with the young people at the end of the week. So I'm very, very excited about it. And a close friend for many years who has worked all around the world with safe elections and activities such as this is the one who invited me. And he actually, he and his family still live in New London when they're not on assignment. So it's kind of local and global at the same time, this wonderful project.
I can imagine that people out there are like me and hearing this and saying, this is incredible. How do I experience this more? How can we see you and your company? How can dancers get involved? How can an audience get involved, or just people who just want to know more.
Sure. If they want to meet me outside in 5 minutes, we can
We'll
do a
make that
small
happen for
workshop.
you.
Yeah, we can do
Yeah.
that. But other than that, well, we have an upcoming opportunity, June 6th through the 11th at Connecticut College. We have an annual summer intensive. And so we'll be there for those days, June 6th through 11th. It's on our website, daviddorfandentz.org. And that would be the first one. And at the end of the intensive, we always show something that we've been working on. And many times we have the students show some work that they either brought to the intensive or maybe they were working on during the intensive. So details will emerge. I imagine the 11th would probably be the showing day, but if someone wanted to come to class, it will be every day, 6th through the 11th. So that's an immediate one. And yes.
May I ask, so
Yeah.
who can attend this workshop? All ages and abilities, or do you need experienced dancers?
I'm really going to say all ages and abilities. On a practical level, we haven't had folks younger than high school age, but we have had high schoolers in this. Most of the participants are either college age, and they're going for some extra training during their college time, or we get a good amount of professional dancers from New York or Boston that want to do some extra training. And it's just a week, it's affordable. You go to the beach, it's a beautiful location.
right.
Our studios at Connecticut College are beyond compare. So it's a really lovely thing. And if they have any questions, you know, my email's on there as well, info@daviddorfandentz.org or david@daviddorfandentz.org. You can just ask me about it, and we'll figure if this intensive is right for them. But I would say we've never turned anyone down. So if you want to dance for a number of days in a row,
And you can.
yeah, and we'll
great.
find a way for you
Well,
to
the
dance.
other thing is we do, I'm sorry. cut
No,
you off.
please.
We, if people are interested, David is in residence, or the company's in residence, and we do showings at Connecticut College at other times during the year. So if they do go on the website, they can find out how to maybe get on the mailing list, and then they would be invited to events and notified about events in Connecticut. And we are based in Connecticut. I mean, I think of us as being based in Connecticut, somewhat in New York, and our audience is the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, we would love to have more folks in Connecticut experience what we have to offer.
I would agree with that completely. And we have a wonderful arrangement with the college that brings us for 3 separate weeks of teaching classes, open rehearsals at the college. When I say open rehearsals, you don't have to be a college student to come to that rehearsal. So if you get on our mailing list, we can tell you when we'll be around. Come watch us, give feedback, be
really
involved. And then as Chloe said, at any one of those times, we may do a little bit of a showing at the end of those. And then there's a summer intensive in addition to that. And then every couple of years, we do a big show, usually in Palmer Auditorium.
Okay.
So basically, the most important thing is let us have access to your email on our mailing list via our website, and then we will tell you what we're doing. We have a newsletter that is very informative and
Great.
very regular.
Great, and you'll also be featured on the Shoreline Arts Alliance website as well, so that
That's fantastic.
we can all get the word out. You
So
can count on
appreciate that.
me to be on that email list and
Great.
in the audience and
Yay!
then some, because this has just been such an inspiring conversation, and we are so lucky to have you both here in Connecticut. Thank you for your contributions
Can
to
I say
arts.
one
yes.
last thing? Shoreline Arts Alliance.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Join.
Shout
Yes,
out, shout
absolutely.
out, shout
Thank
out.
you.
No,
Yeah.
it's so lovely that you have this organization and that you're so open to helping folks.
Absolutely.
That's
Well,
wonderful.
we're all in this together, and we all have such a shared passion. And
Yes.
the community that we build, I think, is precious and such a treasure. So I really appreciate you taking the time to
Well,
connect with me, connect with Shoreline Arts and our audience. It's been really wonderful to talk
Well,
to you.
thank you. And do you think we might be able to drag you on stage for a little
Maybe.
bit of singing and acting?
Maybe we could do a little interactive. I always
Yeah.
say that I'm a singer-actress who moves well, but it sounds like moves well is
Well,
okay.
I did this show called Indecent that went to Broadway for 4 months, and there were actors, some of them that moved well, and that maybe they weren't the most trained singers, and then there were some that were super trained singers and movers, but I think all incredible actors, and we all melded this wonderful show together. So I like that more than anything, of just getting people with different talents and bringing them together. So
Right, that energy.
we
Well,
might drag you up
maybe
there.
that
Thanks
could
for
be
having
great.
us.
Thank you so much.
What a
So
pleasure.
nice to
What a
see
pleasure.
you.
Thank
you very much,
Thanks so much
Carly.
for coming, and definitely check out their website. I hope to see you in the audience at one of their workshops or performances coming up as well. Thanks, guys. Great to have you here.
Thank you very much, Carly.
Welcome back. I'm Carly Callahan for Spotlight on the Arts, and I am so pleased to welcome our next guests today from the organization iPark. Ralph Crispino, who is the co-founder and board president, along with A.P. Bergeron, a Quebec-based composer who is currently in residence at iPark. Ralph and A.P., welcome. Thanks so much for coming in today.
Sure.
Thank you.
So tell me about what iPark is.
It's a place where artists can escape for 4 weeks and try new things, and they are in an immersive environment with a total of 6 artists at a time. So many come in with projects that they already started working on, and they work on developing them. Sometimes they come in with no ideas, and they just take the time as a free time to experiment. There's no accountability for their work. Once they're accepted, it's a very competitive program, but once they're in, they can do whatever they please when they're in residence.
Wow, neat. So you're one of those lucky few that were able to join this iPark group fairly recently, correct?
Yeah, I'm on my 2nd week now. Came down from Canada without really having much context at all, other than knowing through the website and online information what I was getting into, but pretty thrilled thus far.
Well, welcome. So how did you find iPark, or did they find you?
No, I found them just, I don't know, I started doing some residencies in the last 5 or 6 years throughout Canada, but this is my first American residency. Found them online and applied, and somehow managed to squeak my way in here.
That's great. And you're a composer.
I am.
And,
yeah.
and what form of music?
It kind of spans multiple genres. I've played in touring bands for over a decade, so that's more within the rock genre, also electronic music, but I've been composing kind of in a synthesis of electronic and classical mediums, I guess.
Really neat, really neat. So you've had, I was looking at your website, which is really impressive, over 850, I think, artists that have come through iPark and have been part of this process, and congratulations, because that is quite a big net of artists that have been influenced by what you offer. What was the genesis of the idea to create this organization for you?
Well, it's actually been 25 years now that Joanne and I have been working on this. Joanne Paradise is the co-founder. She's the executive director right now. And it started off, we got together, there was a file folder with some initial sketches. And we've had the property for 20 years now. But the original idea was for it to be a garden park and a memorial park. And that idea morphed into this residency program in around 2001. And I think there was a little element for an artist community in the initial plan, but it kind of evolved. It's actually an artist from Serbia caught a little website that we had set up and got interested, and he asked if he could come over and help us get it started, because it was an idea, but it was like languishing, and
Right.
he gave us that little push to just get started. That first year was kind of a mess, but you know, we learned some mistakes. The things that we thought were going to happen, the horrible things that we thought were going to happen, didn't happen.
Good.
Some other horrible things that we hadn't planned on did, but we learned, and then after that, it just became this machine, this cycle that, you know, every year we go through the
Right.
selection process and the orientation. And
Right, because I would imagine that the thought is that artists like yourself don't have the opportunity to just solely focus on their art form without the distractions of the world. Is that correct?
Well, that's the classical definition of an artist residency. It's a gift of time and space. But we say time, space, and fellowship, because we've found that connection among the artists, what happens at the dinner table, is so important. And these groups that spend those 4 weeks together in the same facility, they get so tight and they stay connected for years, and they help each other out, and they're inspired by one another. So that element is critical.
I would imagine that the fellowship that you do create amongst your fellow artists is probably something that will last hopefully for years to come. So walk me through how do you find all of these artists? What is the application process like, and what criteria do you use to invite artists to be part of your program?
We create 6 juries every year, and all the juries have 3 individuals, one of whom is a fellow, someone who's been through the program, so they have a sense of what we have to offer, and they bring that perspective. And then it's a kind of diversity in terms of the panelists. For example, in AP's group, the jury for that discipline, there's a sound artist on the group, and one more in classical music, and other like new sorts of experimental music.
I see.
And so the application gets juried, and they use their individual aesthetic in terms of, in other words, they're independent. They're really independent. Once they become a juror, they go with their own aesthetic instincts and values.
So do you know I'm sure you know names and bios, but it must be kind of a like Christmas morning when all of these artists get together for the first time. It must be so exciting to have their personalities come to life
when they arrive.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be quite a
arrival day
monumental day.
Well, they're coming from all over the place. So
Right.
the first day is a little bit disorganized, and then we have kind of a buffet or whatever. But the next day is orientation day. That's when we, Joanne sits them down and kind of tells them what we have available in terms of resources, and then I take them for a walk on the land, which is usually for a 2-hour walk, because the land is another important element in what makes us a little bit different. This, park sort of environment.
Could you explain to our audience a bit, because I did see online pictures of the land. It's exquisite and it's huge. Could you tell us a little bit about what type of land it is, what it looks like, how big it is, that kind of thing, to just give people a visual sense of what we're talking about?
Well, it's a big piece of property, but we use maybe 30, 40 acres of it for this. But the other area is available for exploration, and it's also available for future projects. I mean, a lot of what we've done here was not in the plan. It was just responding to, somebody said, can I do this? Yeah, you can do that. And so we're kind of followers, we don't give ourselves too much credit for the way it's evolved. And, there's some other ideas down the road, and so we have enough property to play with, if so to speak. But it's all very light touch. There's been very little building happening on the property, and a lot of good habitat. And even when we do go in, I mean, we kind of coexist. The birds and such, I mean, they've accepted us pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
They're part of our family, we're part of theirs.
Yeah. And how does the land, in your experience, how does that inform, or do you expect it to inform your kind of artistic journey while you're in residence at iPark?
Oh, it's essential. I mean, even just last night I was in my studio. There are these 2 new studios that I'm lucky enough to have one of them, and the rain was pretty intense last night, falling on the roof, and it kind of became integrated into some of the recordings I was doing there. I take runs and walks every day throughout the park. It's incredibly inspiring. The wildlife, you see deer every day, rabbits. It's pretty incredible.
That's
and
really neat.
as someone who, I grew up in a rural area and live in a city, so to be able to kind of go back and commune with nature a little bit, it's a huge part of my process.
So Ralph, I understand that this year you have something a little special in the area of music. Is that correct?
Yes, this is something that we started in 2015, where we bring a new music ensemble in residence.
Oh.
So typically we're about the creative process, the composition, not so much the performance side. But we find that there's a lot of composers who don't have the opportunity to work intimately with the ensemble. You go to a concert and you'll hear the composer sitting in the audience. I wish I had a little more time to spend with the ensemble. So they're in residence. So we got this amazing group, Acropolis Reed Quintet, out of Michigan. They're going to be in residence for 2 weeks in July, and there's going to be 2 concerts come out of it. But we have 5 composers who are basically going to share that ensemble for that 2-week period, and they're going to come in with a partially completed piece, and through a collaborative process between the composers and the musicians, they're going to put kind of the finishing touches on these works.
Wow.
So, and we've seen how that work progresses from kind of that rough
Right.
stage when they first come into the residency to the like finely polished, finished work.
Right.
I mean, and it's really kind of unheard of that you get, especially in the new music year, I think you'll agree, that you get a lot of rehearsals.
Yeah.
So these pieces are going to be rehearsed maybe 12, 20 times, over the course of that 2 weeks. And so but it really is about the collaborative process.
Right.
I think oftentimes, the composer, the musicians feel, okay, the composer puts this in front of you, okay, here it is,
Here it
folks,
is, and
take it
do
or
it.
leave it,
Totally.
And that's a bit of an exaggeration. I think, there is a fair amount of respect there. But also on the other side, too, so the musicians have a ability to ask questions and, hey, how did you ever think of maybe doing it this way? And also on the other hand, I think the composers love to hear that, but the musicians also get buy-in to the composition process.
Right.
So they become advocates for this program, and they take this music on the road.
Right.
So they have like this built-in kind of fan club, and they're deeply committed to the music, and so this is the third time we're doing it this year.
That's wonderful. So one is able to inform the other, because I agree. I think there's often everyone's working in isolation, and the musicians are practicing what they're supposed to be playing, and the composer has done his or her thing. But really, the symbiosis between the two is what it's all about. So to be able to facilitate that is really special.
And then we've got 2 concerts, one in Connecticut and one in New York City.
When are those?
They're in the first weekend of August.
Okay.
We don't have the facilities lined up yet, but so they'll get some good exposure.
That's
The
great.
New York music scene is waiting for us to.
Fantastic. That's a great
Show
idea.
off.
Awesome. Now,
Yeah.
do you interact, do the artists interact with one another throughout the period of residency, or do you all kind of, aside from the dinner table, do you inform one another in terms of the artistic process that you're individually going through, or do you all kind of do your own thing and arrive at the end in whatever fashion that you arrive in?
I think it's pretty open. Obviously you're given the space to work individually if that's what you're going for, and you need that space. It's available to you, and we're not intruding in on another's space uninvited. But yeah, I think there is obviously the collaboration is there, whether it be formally or just like through communication of conversation and communication of ideas,
Right.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
We find that we don't push collaboration as such, but what we do have is what's called artist exchange. This like the second day that the artists come, right after dinner they'll get together. Oh, I guess we're doing it before dinner now. They'll do a little show and tell, if you will. So they'll introduce one another to what their past work has been, and also maybe some thoughts of what their project is, if they have one, for the residency. So we do that right up front. So if there are any, inklings of interest in maybe working together,
Right.
it's exposed. It may be revealed. And we've had some great collaborations over the years, and again, unforced. Just
Right.
let nature take its course, so to speak. There have been several hookups, relationships, children.
I bet.
And that have come from the iPark experience, that intimate environment or whatever. But yes.
The ultimate collaboration.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
exactly.
ultimate collaboration.
That's the ultimate legacy, right? Creating these super children that are so artistically gifted.
Well, we really try not to. We call it a self-directed residency,
Right.
so people can do with it as they will. And some people, no one usually doesn't. Everyone comes for dinner. That is pretty. Although I think there's been a few times where people just want to stay in the studio and work through dinner, but that's kind of unusual. But other than that, it's what they make of it. Basically, on the welcome dinner, when we formally, basically turn over the place to the artist, they do what they want and follow their own dynamic.
What a gift you're giving them, and then in turn they're giving to the community and the world. Talk about a ripple effect. It's really extraordinary to think about just the sheer number of artists that you've incubated and influenced, and how that can affect their greater trajectory, that they have the opportunity to pause and just be immersed in their art form. That's just it's a tremendous mission.
Well,
It
sometimes
really
we don't
is.
even realize it.
Yeah.
You know, there's sometimes where we write a grant and we need like a letter from an artist just to explain their experience. And I've been amazed at some of these letters, at some of the ripple effects you suggest. And it goes on for years. They give each other leads. They support one another. They come to their openings. And so yes, it's. But again, it's all organic. You know, I think the thing is we don't try and direct it. I mean,
Right.
maybe I guess what we say is we kind of set the table, you know, and then what happens from there is magic.
Right, and no two meals are probably quite the
Right.
same, right? So that's really neat. Tell us a little bit about the other artists that are up there right now with you.
It's pretty diverse.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. Yeah, there's Eric Sasson. He's a writer from New York City. There's Elisa Yang. She's a kind of multidisciplinary visual artist, video, painting, that kind of thing. The poet Shelley Wong from the West Coast, California. She's incredible. Yeah. Who else we got up there?
It's a pretty good sampling.
Yeah,
It's a pretty good
yeah,
sampling.
it's pretty amazing. It's like I don't know. I was almost intimidated at the Artist Exchange to
Yeah.
like see the breadth of talent.
Right.
It's really
Right,
really
but
quite
I'm sure
inspiring.
you probably get over that quickly, and then you're like family.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, we also have another filmmaker, Mitch.
Oh, yeah, Mitch
We don't get
McCabe.
too many Connecticut artists, but this is a Connecticut
Okay.
filmmaker that we were fortunate to have in this
Right.
group.
Neat.
Yeah.
So I would imagine, I'm hearing about this and thinking, I would love to see what this is and maybe interact with some of these artists and appreciate what's going on, because it really is special. How can someone like myself experience what iPark is?
The main way is Open Studios.
Okay.
At the end of the month, the last Sunday of the month, we kind of open our doors. And literally, the artists open their doors to their studios for about an hour and a half. People can come and wander around to the 6 studios and see what the artist's been working on. And sometimes there's not a lot to see there. It's something that's in the computer, but it's amazing that people find some way to share with the community when they come. So, and then for those people who have time-based pieces, often we have what's called like special presentations. So, you know, a composer or filmmaker will have like a start and end time to make a presentation. Readings, you know, poetry readings and that sort of thing. And then during that day, people are also welcome to walk the grounds. Oftentimes we have installations on the land. It's something we've kind of become known for. This group is mostly studio art, though. People
Right.
working in the studios.
Right. No, I did see on your website, which is a great website, by the way, there was a link to some of those, I believe, those outdoor installations. There was looked almost like a chair or something that was sitting in the middle of a pond. It was
Oh,
just,
yes.
yeah, it was really compelling and captivating, and it'd be really neat to see. So people can go to your website and see when these open. You mentioned when they are every month, but just get exact details of how to get there and all that other important information so that they can experience what this is.
Actually, it's interesting that installation you're referring to. The artist's name is Senbo Yang. He's a RISD-educated landscape designer, and he came to iPark working in that discipline. But over the course of the 4 weeks, he transitioned. He basically turned his back on his landscape architecture career, working for a firm, and became a visual artist. He went through that transformation. He was so moved by the ethos in the visual arts area, and I guess he must have had a leaning toward that
Right.
field. So he got a gallery show right out of iPark. He'd never had a gallery show before. So yeah, I think that some of the video you have on that, so you can see how
Yeah,
this
it's
piece.
really neat.
Yeah.
I would encourage
Yeah.
people to go to the website and check
Yeah.
it out.
It's
because-
it's no longer there. Most of the
Right.
work at iPark is ephemeral.
Okay.
You know, it either goes away at the end of the residency, or sometimes it hangs out there for a year or so.
Right. But that's, I mean, to be the catalyst
Yeah,
to a
yeah.
transformation in someone's trajectory like that is awesome. So tell us real quickly your project that you're working on, multimedia, music. Give me more, just because I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I want to give myself more because it's pretty fresh. It's
Yeah.
very much in the early stages, but yeah, it's conceptually kind of based in a a desire to bring more experimental music into a more accessible realm to people. So integrating kind of immersive virtual reality technology in the form of dome structures that are movable, and bringing that into public spaces like a square in a town, for example. Whereas like a lot of the experimental spaces, DIY spaces that I've worked in are very exclusive, like only certain demographics even know about them or come into them. This is the idea to bring something like that into like a more public space that people can be curiously just kind of like come into. But my music is kind of, it's quite dark in nature, so you know it might be somewhat of a shocking thing, but you know, like it's meant to be like kind of like a bit of an immersive shock, you know. But yeah, it's a traveling, you know, music.
So when you're composing for a physical, you know, with a physicality to your performance, I guess, in mind, you're composing differently, I would imagine, because it would be the audience is under a dome, right?
Absolutely.
That's really cool.
Yeah. It's kind of like a three-dimensional sound environment. So I'm working with software that allows you to kind of create a sonic space that you can then work and travel within.
Right. So your studio that you're in right now, keyboard, lots of computers, lots of screens, and lots of speakers to.
Absolutely.
Neat.
Yeah.
That's
definitely.
really. Have you heard any of his?
Yes, well, not what he did during the residency, but you know, through that artist exchange, we got a sampling of it. Yes.
Cool. That's really, really fascinating stuff. Well, thank you so much for what you're doing and what you've done. I mean, it's really motivating and inspiring to imagine what impact this has on so many artists and the community, and it's a really special project. So thank you so much, and I would encourage everyone to go and visit our website, Shoreline Arts Alliance website, and also your website, which is i-park.org.
O-R-G, yeah.
Okay, be sure to check that out, and you can see some of the artistic works that we've discussed in this program and be on top of what's ahead and how you might be able to get up there and check it out for yourself. I know I certainly will be doing so because of this inspiring conversation. So thank you so much for coming today.
Yep.
Pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks to you.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for joining me today for this June episode of Spotlight on the Arts. It's been a great pleasure to talk to these wonderful artists and organizations, and I encourage you to visit our website, shorelinearts.org. On that website, you will see a calendar listing of all the many, many events, performances, activities, workshops, classes, concerts, you name it. It will be there for the month of June, and it's a month that is chock full of all sorts of opportunities. So get out there, see all that there is to see, hear, do, experience with the arts in Connecticut at shorelinearts.org. Thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in July for our next episode of Spotlight on the Arts.